All are wild things. I know I look a little bit happier today than the last time you saw me, but that's because we're doing a Lead Me On Track reaction, and I'm actually excited to share with you all the tea about what the actual narrative of the song is about, like what was actually happening in the physical world, but then also what I think the song's actually about, which I think there's just a deeper plot to it, you know what I'm saying? And I think the deeper plot's actually a little bit more about Carrie than it is about shit that we had going on at the time that kind of like inspired some of the lyrics, which I'll also show you where some of the lyrics came from. And then also I wanted to react to the music video because there's some interesting things that she decided to put in there that I think are worth a mention. And then also I wanted to talk about one thing that she put in the music video in particular, which is definitely about the album and what you can expect when it comes to the album. And like there was just lots of Easter eggs in this music video that I want to talk about. So that's what this video is going to be today. We're going to talk about lyrics, narrative, music video, and the album or the project, like what she has said about the project in her music video, basically. So yeah, if you want to know more about that, stick around and let's get into it.
The song plot.
So we're going to start with the plot. I'm going to share the kind of point in time that this song is about, and what inspired some of the lyrics. So basically this song refers to the point in time where I was obviously dipping a lot. I was kind of like coming and going of social media. I was like deleting the Finding Rewilding playlist, privating videos, like yada, yada, yada. Like I was there and then also not there. And I was like kind of coming and going for a little while there. And like talking about her a little bit and then going for ages, like not talking about her at all, and like having all my videos privated and things like that. Like it was a bit of a time, and that is obviously the time that this song is talking about. Like that's what was physically happening. That was the physical plot of what was going on. And obviously she's talking about me. She goes to the lengths to make sure she includes wild in both of the verses. I think it was kind of cute that she actually matched up wild and find on top of each other in the lyrics. Like that's clever. But the main lyric that is the biggest tip off that this song is about the particular point in time that I just described, actually has to do with the something is better than nothing line. Because right before I dipped, I did share with Carrie the story of how my last relationship ended. And obviously there was like a big like context with that, where, you know, basically I wasn't feeling loved for a very long time in that connection. But kind of some shit went down that, essentially was like the complete unraveling of our connection. And so, yeah, I'm going to show you the voice memo that I sent to her, that basically explains exactly where the something is better than nothing line at all comes from, because I may have said that exact line to her when I was describing how my last relationship ended. I think I need to say more about like how me and my ex ended things. Like essentially like we were like emotionally involved when I worked for her, but we weren't physically involved. And then after I left the business, we like were in a like full relationship, like within I think a month. And yeah, some rumors started going around the place where I used to work and where she still worked, that we were like sleeping together the whole time, and the reason why I had the job I had was because we were fucking, and she like gave it to me for that reason. And yeah, essentially like the business wanted to protect its reputation. So what my ex decided with HR was they decided to keep my relationship with her a secret. So yeah, essentially like what she asked me to do was like not tell anyone. And God, you can kind of see why this is like pushing a lot of those buttons. But yeah, I decided if she wanted to like pretend we weren't anything, that I was just gonna actually make us nothing and leave. So yeah, essentially my last relationship ended officially properly when my ex wanted to pretend like we weren't together when we were. And yeah, that was like the straw that broke the camel's back for me, where I was just like, okay, like I'm not feeling super loved in this connection. So if you want to pretend like we're nothing, I'm going to make us nothing and we're going to break up. So that was essentially how my last relationship ended. And that was something that I shared with Carrie when I was explaining why the situation that we were in, or we are in, I guess still, was so challenging for me, because it was like obviously bringing up a lot of past wounds. And yeah, I just wanted her to know why it was so triggering. And obviously like then I ended up dipping. And so based on her knowing how my last relationship ended, I understand why me dipping was like really, really hard for her. And yeah, like why from that space she wanted to write this song. It makes a lot of sense to me. And I do think like, obviously, like the song has double meaning. Like there's a deeper meaning for like, I think what was going on for her around that time, that I'll get to in a minute. But like, I just wanted to talk about, like, I just think it was, obviously the song was written in a very real feeling, in a very real moment in time, and I absolutely understand where she was coming from. I feel like I still needed to dip though. Like dipping was the only thing that I could think of to make myself feel safe, or safer. And it kind of worked, it kind of didn't. So yeah, that was kind of like the context of what was going on. Like she was essentially kind of losing me because I needed things that she wasn't able to give me based on the restrictions she was under at the time, or still is under. And yeah, it kind of didn't look good there. I'm not going to lie. It didn't look good. So I understand where this song came from. And yeah, I want to say I don't think I was leading anyone on at all. I think, you know, like, obviously I if you look at the videos on TikTok, like obviously I was getting lots of messages from the universe essentially dragging me back and being like, girl, don't let your flat response like take over now. You know what I'm saying? Like I was getting lots of signs from the universe that I needed to come back, which is, you know, has to do with, I think, the second meaning of lead me on, which is, you know, sometimes you get a trail of breadcrumbs telling you what you're supposed to be doing. So yeah, essentially like I was being led back to her by the trail of breadcrumbs, and you know, obviously she was seeing me post on TikTok about what some of those breadcrumbs were. Like I saw some really crazy stuff. Like I saw like the October 3rd from obviously all of our Mean Girls references, and her birthday in a book. In another book I saw like the girl had a birthday and she was a Pisces, and she went and watched 16 Candles, like in the book. That's what it said she did for her birthday, and that's what Carrie had done for her birthday last year in 2023. So yeah, I was getting lots of messages. I was getting lots of breadcrumbs to lead me back to her. And so that's kind of like the double meaning of lead in terms of what was physically happening at the time, like the actual narrative. Because yeah, like as I was kind of getting breadcrumbed by the universe to go back, she was obviously seeing all the videos that I was making. And yeah, I think that was like maybe giving her hope. So that's kind of like the meaning of lead me on in the more narrative sense of like, this girl might be back, you know what I'm saying? Like, and like getting hope about that. But then also I think there's a deeper meaning to all of this for her as well.
The deeper meaning of the song.
So that brings us to kind of the deeper narrative that I think is more about Carrie than it is about me. And essentially, I think like while I was getting led back to her with breadcrumbs from science, like by signs from the universe, I think at the same time, kind of like the whole kind of context of like why I dipped in the first place was kind of leading her somewhere too. And like, I think some things still need to like fall into place. Some puzzle pieces still need to come together for that to all make sense. But I promise it will. Like if you come back and listen to the song in a little while, once all the chips fall where they need to fall, I think it'll make more sense. Like what the double meaning of the song is, because yeah, I think as much as she was talking about like kind of me being wild and me being hard to tame and me, you know, being free or whatever in the song and like having a hard time catching me, I think it's also kind of about, you know, like I think her trying to catch her free, her wild, her truth, her like her in her awakened state, especially like in the second verse, there's like some line about it's getting hard to stay sound asleep or something like that. I think that whole kind of like pivotal, that whole point in our story was a pivotal turning point for her too, where she started realizing that some things in her life like needed to shift and she needed to follow the intuitions that she was getting about where she should be, what she should be doing, where she should be going, who she should be with, like kind of, yeah, I think it was like a big shift for her personally. And I think you'll start to see that shift in the next year or so. You'll see like all the things that she obviously pivoted towards in that moment that the song's about, which makes the song kind of like more about her than it is about me in a way. Like I think it just created like a big shift for her. And I think the song, like once all those shifts start to become evident in the physical, I think like people appreciate the song way, way, way more because like the deeper meaning for her is like, it's like really big stuff. Like, yeah, like the song, the deeper meaning of the song's like very, like, yeah, just about kind of following the breadcrumbs of like where you're supposed to be going, what you're supposed to be doing and things, which she has kind of alluded to on the live that where she was talking about the album. So I'll put that clip in here now so you can see what I'm kind of maybe getting at.
Moments of intuition that won't leave you alone. Yeah, you know, like all of the ways in which you get these little hits or these little clues or it's like your spidey senses go off about like, oh, I'm getting like an intuition to like go towards this thing or gravitate towards this person or move to this place or quit this job. And it's like all the ways that it starts to speak to you. So it's about all of those things on all of those levels.
I just think like this song is going to just like age like fine wine, you know what I'm saying? Like as a few more things fall into place, that, you know, Carrie's alluded to, and, you know, obviously some things that, you know, were central to that kind of big fight that we had where I dipped like fully for the first time, like what we're actually fighting about. I think once, you know, you start to see some of the things that we were fighting about kind of come to a resolution, which will take some time. I think, yeah, if you come back and listen to the song then, you'll be like, wow, this was like this song is like also about a really big personal transformation and a big shift and a big like kind of like leap of self-trust. And also just like leap of like following the breadcrumbs and like where you're supposed to go. You know what I'm saying? Like following your higher self, following your intuition. And, you know, yeah, just like knowing what's aligned for you and what's not. Yeah, I think the song's just gonna like get so much better with time So yeah, definitely come back to it and definitely re-listen. Because yeah, it's definitely about more than one thing. It's about obviously the plot of like what was going on in our connection at the time, but there's a deeper plot. Like there is a much more kind of like transformative personal journey being described in this song at the same time. And like personally, like that's my favorite part of the song. Like I love that it's talking about her finding herself, finding her wild, finding, you know, how to be free, how not to be tamed, like untaming herself, like unbinding herself, so that she can live the life she wants to live, and like head towards, you know, what feels true and right for her. Like I love that meaning of the song, like way, way, way more than the part that's like about me and about what was going on in our connection at the time. Like I just think, yeah, I think the song just has beautiful double meaning, and I just can't wait for people to like be able to unpack that properly, and like appreciate the song in like all of its glory. So yeah, like definitely come back and listen to it. Just like trust me, you'll want to come back and listen to it later.
The visuals and music video.
But with that said, in regards to, you know, the contextual physical narrative of what was going on plus the deeper meaning narrative of like what was hidden underneath in the song, now like let's talk about the music video, because there's lots of things that she added into the visuals that were like just saying some things, you know what I'm saying, and kind of telling a story in itself, you know what I'm saying. Especially like this first like opening sequence where she's like lying petting a cat like that's sitting like where it's sitting. Like this is definitely what she's talking about when she says the thought of you is torture, you know what I'm saying. Like this is the kind of torture that she's talking about clearly. But like that's so insane of her to like put that on there, to put that in a music video. Like obviously we all know what you're saying. Like that's wild that you're saying that, that you just put that on the internet like that. Being very candidly horny, you know what I'm saying? Like, but you know, that's a vibe. Like it is what it is. Kind of crazy, but like, yeah, I get it. The other thing about this opening sequence is she has a book and what looks like a little compact mirror next to her head. And I just feel like that's also a vibe. Like I feel like the vibe of like, you can read me like a book and, you know, you reflect things back to me. Like the mirroring aspect has been like super, I don't know, it's been a thing in this whole connection, which is I think why there's actually a few times that there's like mirrors and books and things scattered throughout the whole music video. Like you'll see them again and again where there's like, yeah, mirroring, books, like being able to read each other like a book, being able to like mirror some stuff back to each other, like seeing yourself more clearly in the reflection of the other person, and like that being next to her head in this opening sequence definitely feels deliberate to me. It also feels deliberate that she's lying on two blankets, one's green and one's pink. If you've like seen my room, like sometimes I do have green and pink a sheet set that's a mix of green and pink, and also like green and pink are obviously super vital to the connection as well. Like obviously there's the on Wednesdays we wear pink reference that has come up a lot in the whole 500-ish days that this thing's been going on. And also obviously my name means green, so you've got green and pink for a reason. I think teasing the song Crush that's going to come out with Renee Rapp, then also like obviously referencing me with the green as well. And then in the next little sequence, you see this person kind of like skate around her, and you can see her just like watching this person, but she's literally just sitting there and there's nothing she can do about it as this person skates in but then skates out. And I just feel like that's very symbolic. Like she's literally had to just sit there and watch as I've come and gone more than once. I'm not going to lie to you. It's definitely happened more than once. And so, yeah, I think that was also very intentional and deliberate, like having that energy kind of like come and skate so close but yet so far. Like you just reach out and touch them, but then they're gone. You know what I'm saying? Like that's very, I don't know, symbolic. And then I just find it very interesting that skater kind of allows this like quick glance up the stairs where this person's like packing and like walking down the stairs. I also think that's very deliberate. I think the packing reference, someone packing and like leaving by the looks of it, feels deliberate, feels very intentional. So in the next sequence, she's essentially walking around a room with green or jade coloured walls, and then she's dressed in all black. And I'll insert a clip of me talking to her about what colours mean to me, what their symbolism means to me, and why I think we should wear certain colours to funerals and why we should wear other colours to weddings, and et cetera, because of, you know, what I think those colours represent. So then you can maybe understand why she chose to wear black in this music video, where the main narrative is about me. Like, I think the song actually has a deeper meaning, that's, you know, maybe more about Carrie, but the surface level narrative is obviously about me. And then also you can draw your own conclusions why her previous music video, that the surface level narrative was about someone else, like why she was wearing what she was wearing in that music video. Yeah, like the colours do mean things, and they were chosen very deliberately. I've obviously thought a lot about getting married, and like one of the things that I think about is like, I kind of see it more as like a ritual of like kind of personal development in a way. And like I kind of see it as like a ritual of personal development, where in the particular case of marriage, where you're kind of like essentially what I was just talking about, where you shift from being on a personal journey onto like a paired journey, like a pair bonded journey. Like that's kind of how I see the ritual of marriage. And like, yeah, for a long time I've been like, I kind of want to wear black to like signal the death of like the personal journey, and to signal like, and I kind of wanted to wear green at the reception for like new beginnings, of like kind of being on a new journey. And yeah, like, by the way, I think we should wear white to funerals, because yeah, you're celebrating a person being like rejoined with spirit. And yeah, I think white represents that going back to purity like so much better. Like I think kind of the colours that we associate with death and marriages are the reverse of what they actually should be. Like I think white should be for funerals and black should be for marriages. And in addition to the colours obviously meaning things, like obviously her being dressed in a way that, you know, is suggesting that she's like celebrating a death of her individual self, and a birth of like her pair bonded self, as well as like the green obviously representing rebirth, regeneration, kind of newness, new cycles. I think also the green coloured walls, like obviously giving jade green, and I think the fact that they shot this whole music video in a single level in a building kind of gives this kind of contained feel, that it kind of feels like you're in her head and we're following where her mind has been for the past almost 500 days, or about 500 days exactly, I would say, actually. Because yeah, in the whole music video, you'll essentially see her moving from room to room, and in each room there'll be something to do with me in the room. In this case, in this first room, it's like all green walls. There was obviously a green blanket in the last room. And yeah, that to me feels like it's kind of saying that like, no matter what she's doing, like her mind has been painted with kind of like reminders of me, or I'm like being mirrored back to her, I'm being reflected back to her. No matter where she's going, what she's doing, like her mind's like making those associations. And so yeah, that's something I really enjoyed about the music video. I kind of was like maybe not expecting that, but I get why that creative choice was made. Like I think I was thinking it was going to be like way more out in the open. But yeah, like I like what they did in terms of like containing it and making it feel like you're kind of walking through her head. Like that's really cool. So in the next sequence, you have more mirrors and books. And then also you have her like getting kind of like dressed up, makeup, and then transitioning into this room where she's being like filmed, photographed, and like having kind of fans around, and like essentially like going and do a job, like she's going to do a job. But there's obviously still things that remind her of me. Like obviously in this first room, there's like mirrors and books. And then in the second room, she got flowers from her fan, which if you watch a really old TikTok of mine, I was talking about roses, and then she got roses from a fan that in the next show she was playing, which just felt like very synchronistic at the time. And then obviously there's the Polaroid being snapped, and Polaroids are like really significant for us as well, because I put her on my vision board using Polaroids, put her in the back of my phone using Polaroids like very early on. And so yeah, like this whole next sequence is like definitely giving like doing life, doing my job, but like things are like still reminding me of you, especially because the roses were pink. I think like, yeah, the Wednesdays we wear pink stuff comes up a few times in this music video, but yeah, that's definitely another lesbian crush, or I think the song's actually going to be called Crush, Easter egg. But then also obviously pink's super relevant. So this quick pan past the bathroom with, you know, a woman leaning on the side of the bath references the very first message I ever sent her, which was in response to a story that she put up asking what do ADHD people do when they're in the bath. And basically I said, like, imagine, you know, who we would like to be in there with. And that was the very, very, very first message that I ever sent to her. That was the story that I replied to of hers. I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, like that's what that's referencing. The very first message I ever sent her. I assume she can't go into bathrooms where there's a bath in it without thinking about that. But then this next bit, this is probably the craziest thing in the whole music video. Like when I saw it, I screamed. Because obviously like pretty recently, like in December, we had some back and forths that had to do with like me being really upset about kind of like all the circumstances and how hurt I was getting in the circumstances. And, you know, sometimes I need to not run my mouth on the internet and say stuff because she like picks it out and puts it in music videos. And sometimes that's super confronting to have that like put back in your face. Like it's very clever. But also I was like, what did you do? You know what I'm saying? Like I was shocked. But anyway, the conversation was essentially about, you know, if you really want to hurt me, if like you really want to like experience that kind of vibe, we can do that in the bedroom with some consent and some safe words. And so then this is what she decided to put in the music video. And if that wasn't crazy enough, the particular like bondage kind of situation that she set up in the middle of the room for this video is literally based on a photo I have on my Instagram account where I'm doing the exact same shape at aerial yoga. So yeah, that's why she put that in there. That was not random. There wasn't just randomly someone hanging upside down in a room for no reason. That was both a bondage thing and a like reference to me doing this aerial yoga shape, which, yeah, it's just, that was an interesting choice. Like, nice, but like so wild that she put that in there. Like, of all the things, like she put that is now on the internet forever. And yeah, that's where that comes from. Look, a little bit, I'm just thinking about how many people's imaginations are just going to go wild, like looking back at all this stuff when shit like fully comes out, like when the truth comes out. That's crazy. That is so crazy. But, you know, I don't know. It is what it is. I've said what I've said, you know, people were going to put two and two together, whether I said it or someone else said it. So that's the situation and whatever. Be sex positive, everyone. No kink shaming. Okay, I'm going to come back to what these tarot cards mean, because this is the main big Easter egg that is 100% about the big vision for this project and like what you can expect in terms of like album and era and things like that. So I want to explain to you like the specific tarot cards that she has laid out there and what they represent and like what she's Easter egging in terms of like the vision for this project. But I will say that like in this room, you've got another mirror and you've also got fairy lights surrounding the mirror, which if you haven't seen my Instagram posts, I have fairy lights surrounding my mirror. And then next to the mirror, you have this big In Search of the Antidote poster and a little Polaroid stuck to it, which if you're not familiar, in my room, next to my big mirror with the fairy lights, that's where my wall of Polaroids is. So obviously like this whole setup was supposed to reflect kind of what I literally have going on in my bedroom. But yeah, essentially the video ends with her singing a little bit, doing a big mic drop, and then ending up back where she started the music video, laying back down out of breath. And, you know, I'm just thinking about how the music video started and what, like, I don't know, for me, it feels like a journey through her head, a journey through her mind, starting with her petting a cat and ending with her out of breath in the same place. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of the vibe. So yeah, that's what happened in the music video, and that's what everything was referencing, that I could see just after a couple of watches. Like, I'm sure if I went back and looked at it again, I'd see more stuff. Like, I'm sure she probably had things hiding in places, and like probably had more shit on the like fireplaces, the mantelpieces, the altars, than what I could really see just like looking at it again. But that brings us to the big Easter egg that I wanted to talk about, what she was talking about with the tarot cards.
The tarot cards Easter egg.
Then that brings us to the big Easter egg that she left in this music video that basically explains exactly what's going to happen with this project, and she's explaining it through tarot cards. So the main 3 tarot cards from the traditional tarot deck that she has here is the Moon card, the 3 of Swords, and then the Lovers card, which is a reference to 3 separate albums. So the first card is the Moon card, and it is the card that is most associated with dreams in the tarot. Therefore, it appears to be referencing the Girl of My Dreams album and era. And then the 2 cards up on the other side, the 3 of Swords represents kind of pain, heartbreak, grief in a like more general sense, but the deeper meaning of the card is about the pain that we all experience to incarnate on Earth, because we have to leave, you know, Source, which is like an infinitely loving kind of pure energy, to come to Earth and then experience, you know, what it's like to be a human and experience like the full range of emotions. And a lot of those emotions, like what they really are deep down, is a reflection of that first pain that we experience from being separated from Source and then incarnating in the physical. So it's kind of like, it's a card that represents basically that all of our pain and grief and suffering comes from the fact that we feel separate from Source. Like we had some sort of separation from Source, and now we experience all these like, you know, jealousy, anger, blah, 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 because we feel separate from Source, separate from love. And it's a big card about healing, by essentially like, how do you come back to love? How do you come back to Source? How do you come back to your like divine nature? Like, you obviously came here to experience some shit in the 3D and learn lessons and stuff, but like the like fundamental thing that you need to come back to is love, healing, Source energy. So it's like, it's just a very powerful spiritual card. And then the third card is the Lovers card, which represents kind of 2 things. Like, it obviously represents like divine partnership, divine union, particularly with a divine masculine, divine feminine, and kind of like the universe and Source, like things that feel divinely guided. But then it also represents like a healing within the self, because the masculine represents the mind, the feminine represents the subconscious and intuition, and then the angel represents the higher self. So it's like both about a union with someone else and also about a union within. So essentially what it looks like Carrie's saying by using these three particular tarot cards laid out in this particular order is that this whole new era that she's in is essentially going to be a rerun of the Girl of My Dreams era, but this time doing a deeper dive, a deeper excavation into that heartbreak to healing pipeline, as well as the union with self to union with divine other pipeline, but she's going to do it in two separate albums. One album, which we now know is the Antidote album, will be represented by the Three of Swords, and also the knife that she got tattooed to the inside of her arm. And the the second album, which I'm sure we can all imagine what that will be called, is represented by the Lover's card and the heart flame on the outside of her arm. And if you want more proof that that's what she's doing, you can go to the This Is Fletcher playlist, where she's taken every single song off Girl of My Dreams off the playlist, again hinting that she's taking another run at it, but she left the song Healing and Better Version, Healing obviously reflecting the In Search of Antidote album, and the Better Version song obviously reflecting the second album. So yeah, like she's been saying it the way she's been saying it, you know what I mean? Like she's been hinting at this for a while before she spelled it out with tarot cards. And the other thing that I think is also proof that we're getting kind of like a deeper excavation of the Girl of My Dreams era, or another run at it, another perspective, is that when she sent out her little Antidote kind of preambles, she obviously talked about not being sure whether she's her own girl of her dreams or not, which again I think is taking us back into that space and maybe talking about, you know, like I think she's just going to have some different things to say this time than what she had to say the first time around. Like I think she's done a lot more work, gone a lot deeper, and, you know, things maybe look a little bit different to her now than what they did when she was writing the album originally. And then the second thing I wanted to point out is, other than, you know, her obviously kind of like alluding to the fact that like, am I my own girl of my dreams? Don't know. The other thing is that when she put the Antidote preamble on her Instagram, she laid it on top of the Red Taylor's version vinyl, which the Red Taylor's version vinyl came out in 2021, which would take us timeline-wise right back to the start of the Girl of My Dreams era. So she's been saying that, you know, we're taking it back to 2021 and telling the whole story all over again. So essentially it looks like the Antidote album is going to run from roughly when Red Taylor's version came out, which was 2021-ish, all the way through to basically the end of 2022. And then the second album that will follow it will be all the way through 2023 and maybe a little bit of 2024, depending on whether or not that album's already done or not. I think maybe she might still have some tracks to write for that album, because obviously I'm expecting there to be about 11 tracks on each album, and I don't know if she would have had time to write 22 in the time that she's had in between Girl of My Dreams finishing and now. So I'm kind of expecting her to still be writing for that second album, but for it to be, you know, well on its way. I think there is a very good chance that that second album will come out between October and December this year, depending on how finished it is. But yeah, I'm so excited for the whole story to be retold and fleshed out a lot more. I think there's going to be a lot more kind of deep stuff, a lot more truth, a lot more healing, a lot more maybe, yeah, just like, I think with hindsight, she's just going to tell a much better story and just like be able to take us through a lot of like really big feelings. Now that she obviously has the wisdom of hindsight and has done a lot of healing and has come a long way in a year. I think, yeah, it's just going to be, I'm very excited for this kind of like twin project to come out. And I just have a feeling as well, like when she got really sick last year and had to postpone her Girl of Her Dreams tours, I'm sure she would have taken that as a sign. that this was what she was supposed to do. She was supposed to take another run at it, because I just think like where she is now, looking back on that body of work, while it's a beautiful body of work and like I'm sure resonates with so many people, I think she would just have a lot more things to say about it now, and maybe a lot different things, and like maybe taking it in a bit more of a different direction than what you might expect, and just like, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of beautiful gems in it about that heartbreak to healing pipeline and that union with self to union with other pipeline. Like I'm really excited for these bodies of work. I think they're going to be great, and like so insane but smart of her to like be planning this far in advance that she's already kind of like able to plant Easter eggs about it. Like that's so cool. She is just like so good at her job, like for real. Like she's very good at what she does. So yeah, I'm excited for it. But I just feel like this video is going to age like fine wine as well. Like I feel like people are going to come back to this video later and be like, whoa, she was so smart. She was doing so much smart stuff. And yes, she was smart this whole time. She was not doing anything by accident. And, you know, I'm actually really, really excited for people to realize just how smart she's been this whole time, and how intentional she's been and how much she's been planning ahead. And like, you know, yeah, I think it's about time she got recognized for all the smart shit she does, because she's very clever, like way smarter than me. She's constantly outsmarted me, which I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't happen all that often, but yeah, she has really had me a fair few times. Like her mind is like crazy. She's extremely, extremely, extremely clever. So yeah, I'm excited for her to finally get the recognition on that. But yeah, with that said, that's like all I have to share about, you know, the physical narrative that Carrie was talking about in Lead Me On, like what was kind of actually happening, but then also the deeper meaning, which again, you've got to come back to it because it's going to age like fine wine. Like once everything kind of like falls into place, everyone's going to appreciate that so much more. And then also the Easter eggs that were in the music video, and kind of like what she was referencing with all the imagery, as well as obviously what she was saying about the project as a whole, and like what's to come over the next, you know, at least year, I would say, and like all the exciting things that we're going to get to see from her. Yeah, that's basically all I have to say about all of that. And yeah, until I'm here again, ciao.